to be doing something that I've wanted to do for a really long time, which is a cooking tutorial. I love to cook. I think people are usually surprised when they find that out. I actually really enjoy cooking, and I'm gonna be cooking one of my favorite foods, both to eat and to cook today, which is Nigerian beef stew. So I'm Nigerian, and I think a lot of Nigerians really like hype up and talk about jollof rice all the time. You know, jollof rice is alright, but for me, nothing can beat white rice and stew. If you're your first time here on my channel, hey, what's up, hello. My name is Ijeoma Kola, and I like to create content that combines beauty and brains with style and substance. Today, I guess, is a substance video. I don't know, is food substance? It is substance, it's subsistence, so you need it to live. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you have any questions or comments. Always feel free to leave them down below. I'm very chatty in the comment section. And without further ado, let's get started on this Nigerian beef stew recipe. So one of the reasons I like making stews is because it's actually like pretty straightforward. All you're gonna need is tomatoes. I don't know how many tomatoes these are, but they're quite a number of tomatoes. I like to use red pepper. Some people use tomato paste to make the stew darker. My mom taught me to just use some red pepper. That helps make it darker. You're also gonna want pepper for heat. I'm only using 1 Scotch bonnet today because I'm actually cooking this for some friends and they have little kids and I don't know their pepper tolerance, but normally if I was just making this for Jonathan and I'd probably use 3 Scotch bonnets. And then you're gonna have some onions. You need onions both for the tomato portion and also for the meat, which you start to boil separately. This is about 1 kilogram of just like beef cubes. Already washed and prepped everything. So that's really all you need in terms of ingredients. I'm gonna be sharing like what spices I use and stuff, but I'm gonna pull those out later. In terms of kitchen equipment, you're gonna need a blender to blend down your tomatoes, and then you're gonna need some pots. I make this in 2 pots, so I need 1 pot to boil the meat and 1 pot to make the tomato sauce, and then this is actually the pot that like holds the entire stew. So I use the bigger pot for my tomato blend, and then the smaller pot, oh, it's quite big, a smaller pot for the beef. Not gonna be sharing in the video, but I almost always eat rice and stew with plantain. So I also have some plantains. They just like really complete the meal. So that is what you need to get started. So first we're gonna prepare the beef and the beef stock. We're going to be adding an onion. I'm using a red onion. I have also used white onions in the past, but I'm just gonna be using a red onion today. You wanna chop it up a little bit, not too fine. For spices, I'm going to add some black pepper, I'm going to use curry, paprika, and a bouillon cube. A lot of people use Maggi. I prefer not to use Maggi because it has MSG and that's not great for your health. So I'm using a vegetable cube, and then I'm gonna add my own salt to taste. Then you just add enough water to cover the beef. You cover the pot and put it on the fire to heat up. Now it's time to get started on the tomato blend. I am going to be quartering tomatoes to go in the blender. I like to use plum tomatoes as opposed to the round tomatoes. These have less water, and since we are boiling all the water out, you might as well use tomatoes that don't have a lot of water in them. I add my red pepper, I add my onions. In the other batch, I'm also gonna add the Scotch bonnet, but I'm just gonna be blending this all down into a nice creamy texture. I am going to be putting all of the tomato blend into a pan, covering it with a splatter screen to reduce the mess, and just letting it boil down as much as possible. Now you can eat stew with any grain, but the real way to eat it is with rice. I like to use parboiled white rice, and I just put it in the cooker, throw it on there, add some salt and add some butter, and I let it cook while I am making the stew. Time to check on the beef. I'm going to just let it cook through, make sure that the beef is nice and tender. I always do a taste test at this point just to make sure that the spice balance is correct. I ended up adding more salt off camera because it wasn't salty enough. And then here's what your tomatoes start to look like. It will kind of start to boil over, but eventually the water will dry out in about 20 to 30 minutes and it will look like this. Once all the water has dried out from your tomato blend, it is time to fry the base. You're going to add a 1/2 cup to a 1 cup of oil. It depends on how much tomatoes are left, and you are just going to kind of stir, continue to stir to fry the tomatoes. This is what removes the bitter taste from the tomatoes and makes the stew taste like stew and not like pasta sauce. Once you stir your stew a couple of times and you don't see oil kind of pulling at the top, that means that it is done frying and it's time to add in the beef and the beef stock. So I'm just going to pour both of those into the pan. I like to add the beef stock separately because sometimes the water is too much or too little, so I add and then stir and then add a little bit more depending on the consistency that I want. Once I have stirred it all in, I cover, lower the heat a little bit, and then cook it down. I decided to add a couple more spices after combining everything. I just added more pepper and a bay leaf, and I'm just going to stir, cook down for a little bit longer, and then you have this beautiful, beautiful stew. Oh, look at that, look at that. So good. I'm eating it with rice, with some spinach and corn, as well as with plantains, and I am going to enjoy this so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe. I look forward to your comments, and thanks so much for watching. See you next time.